Alrighty, looks like I got everything here. Alrighty. Hmm. Okay. 6 days in Fallujah. 6 day. Yes. Tweaking. OBS is now having some few issues. Let me see. Okay. 1 2 1 2 1 2. Oh ho ho ho. Oh ho ho. Woo. Okay, that should be pretty good. Okay, dokie. So, uh, uh, E, O. Pretty much I have something stuck in my mouth. Alright, my hands are very okay, I guess. 6 days of Fallujah, not trying to make a political commentary, creator says. Woohoo! Let's skim through a bit on where we left off. We're looking through here. And definitely image from Highwire Games Victoria, because most of the images right there have been posted by Ventura itself. So, yeah. So, pretty much we have this, that. Oh, yeah. Actually, we put this. It's all good. Yep. Decrease incidence of cancers. Oh, nah, I'm not going to click on what it's going to put because this is Polygon, so I'm not sure of what graphic articles they actually post or websites. So, I'm going to chance it right now. Still going to continue on this. Yep. Most violent urban comment since Vietnam. That's the thing about the battle. Alright. Yeah, went through here and stuff like that. I haven't gone through here, but I did talk about it. Alright. One of the other dodges of the military mic is that they fictionalize their settings. They're made up, yep, made up Marines. Yep. In this way. Yeah, I understand that. A message that I heard from all the people who also. Yep. I'll drop notes to show people that we're not making a called gap historical videos. Alrighty. Showcasing that. But let's just talk from here. Working with an American journalist in Iraq whose name is being withheld for their safety, according to Tam T, developer of Highwire Games, has interviewed dozens of civilians who lived through the fighting. Their stories will give the game its parallel storyline where players will take on the role of a father trying to lead his family to safety. That family story will overlap with U.S. forces in the game. This is an unarmed Iraqi civilian, Thomas stressed. We do not at any point ask the player to become an insurgent. To be clear about that, this is an Iraqi civilian who was trying to get his family out of the city during the battle. Yeah, in the case of the game's website, Victoria notes that players will never play as an insurgent during the single player campaign or in the multiplayer recreation of the actual events. So it's going to be like, well, the recent one I keep on thinking was Rainbow Six Siege when it came to people not playing as the terrorists, which, yeah, obviously now it doesn't make sense since now the story lore with Siege has to do with many operatives competing with each other when it comes to um, the multiplayer side. But it did have the original story that was not canon anymore, which was dealing with. I keep on thinking of White Glove Society from New Vegas because of people just wearing ski masks. But yeah, pretty much them actually just being the enemy faction. Not much of a story, but of a bit of a backdrop on think the closest thing you could think is just terrorist cell networks that is equivalent to the original Tom Clancy book from the mid 90s, Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six. Um, but it's also close to what people wanted for Patriots, where you actually did play as a uh, hostage that became a suicide bomber who actually ended up losing his own life due to the bomb about to detonate under the bridge when he was being saved by Rainbow. But that does showcase something murky. The murky thing has to do with what happened um, with Rainbow making difficult decisions. Very similar to Modern Warfare 2019 when it came to throwing off a hostage that was strapped in because he was about to blow something out. Um, the the thing about it is that in real life they actually have a not a policy but a guideline of what to do when it comes to the hostage situation, which is have everybody evacuate around that area and then disarm on whatever bomb threat occurs. But the first point is to have a secure area where the blast radius won't harm any people. Um, Obviously, in the game, it showcases a cutscene where you pretty much had gone to the hostage, um, which, yeah, that's a shame. But it does showcase the narrative situation of it. Hmm. Um, but what was going on with it is that, yeah, last time I was to talk about Medal of Honor and that controversy about people playing as the Taliban in multiplayer, they actually had to change that to the opposing force, wearing regular Afghan local clothing, which all in all, many uh, uh, people who are embedded usually will wear local clothing just to blend in and such. But it does showcase the murkiness of all that. But it does seem that they're actually going in the story narrative line of one character in a mission who's a Iraqi civilian. So we'll see how that blends in with the storyline with the coalition forces because they didn't focus on the storyline for their end due to them talking about how they want to try to create an experience that's replayable, which yeah, that's going to be something bit off-putting if one storyline for a character is going to be pretty narrative versus gameplay wise. Hmm. This actually makes me wonder how many cutscenes, how many narrative dialogues, how many characters will be in this game. But yeah. Also, there's gonna be multiplayer, so I wonder how that's gonna handle it. It's not gonna be this common deathmatch because, oh boy, I can guess it would have been like a Gears of War death match if it was released back then. But now people are more comfortable with playing different types of multiplayer game types. So yeah, that's gonna be something definitely want to know. People want to know what would be the game from 2009, and shamefully that didn't come to fruition. So hopefully we're gonna learn a lot more. That's probably why IGN covered it in very length and detail in order to actually have more of an in-depth um work to share case on to their own platform, to their own audience. Hmm. Of course, this isn't the first time that Tempton has tried to get this game made. He says he's been working on it for over 15 years, effectively since the months after the Second Battle of Fallujah ended. What hung them up last time was the outcry over alleged war crimes. Instead, it was a coalition of different sort. This one made up of the families of service members who died in the Iraq War. Their outrage became a talking point for the international media and ultimately helped pressure Konami into dropping the game in 2009. One of the other dodges has that been military inspired games make it that they fictionalize their settings. There are made up soldiers and made up marines. Developers say is fighting a battle that in a made up country. Tempted and the team at Highwire are going in a different direction by putting real people into their game. So what does Tamte Tamty yeah Tamty have to say to those families? Once again, outrage at their relative's death is included, even preferably in this way. Hmm. I'll talk more about the family thing because I actually do want to see if they refer to it again. But something small that I do wanted to point out is okay, reading back to the paragraph, he says he's been working on it for over 15 years, effectively since the months after the Second Battle of Fallujah ended. I really do want to see what other inspirations he talked about, which is a shame because he's probably not going to talk much about war itself. Just to him stay in the topic to have a set point of anything people are going to talk to. You don't want to expand it more into like the artistry of glamorizing warfare and all that, because that's going to be a huge tongue twister if he's going to try to explain it to so many people who are interested just because it's a broad versus a topical thing. It's a shame because I actually do wonder what he might have been inspired by around the war on terror, uh, the the international affairs that occurred around the world. So this referred to Africa and the Middle East for the U.S., but also when it came to UN forces, when it came to Kosovo, Yugoslavia, and any other issues that occurred around that timeline. I could even go on with the whole thing about him also being inspired by terrorism threats from the 70s onwards, but that will be beyond the 15-year timeline. Um, but this gets to showcase what this person inspires them to do it. Most likely, it's going to be years later, or much sooner if this actually becomes a success. Um, and doesn't cause many issues with the company nor the person. That they probably will talk more about it. Which, yeah, I am curious. Yeah, this also talks about family and such. We saw the pictures where he is pretty weird, and I could say it is the eyes. The eyes look pretty dead, which is so interesting. It's interesting how I could understand that this is fake. I could say the Uncanny Valley, Valor, Uncanny Valley, not the Valor. Uncanny Valley stole the stolen valor for his story, but no. It does show we can understand that things are becoming realistic. However, we can assume people things are fake. I mean, that's the thing with huge graphics. What was it? Metal Gear Solid from 1998 and the PlayStation had really realistic graphics for it being a silver 3D game. And yeah, people won't say that nowadays. So it does show case people's standards. But yeah, eyes. That's something I've learned about when it came to Artistry. The eyes tend to be pretty off-putting. Yeah, that's something I'm also trying to understand. Left to right, former Marines Sergeant Eddie Garcia being interviewed for 6 days of Fallujah as rendered in the game and as photographed during his military service. Doop, doopy doopy doop. A message that I've heard from all the people who've lost loved ones in battle is they don't want their child or friend's sacrifice to be forgotten. Tamti said, even the ones who were very opposed to the war in Iraq. And I had conversations with many of them, as well as other members of our team, especially former military who are on our team. Had conversations with many of these families in 2009, and we heard one after the other. We don't want to make a game about this, but we don't want our son's sacrifice to be forgotten. Is a mixture of that. I do wonder if that also comes with interviews after the cancellation, especially with actually getting more positive feedback and able to pop, pub, pub, publish eyes popularized but also publicized publicly that, so they won't have much backlash. and and the good thing though is that the backlash of people with this game is not what it was back then because of the nature of pretty much the events in the U.S. Uh, the U.S. It's now different because of hindsight. So yeah, and also several other things which I feel like there would be so many reasons that even other people don't understand. Only small talk things that I probably just go and say that whatever they say that people are concerned about, it's something they're addressing and something I would address because that's something that is in the concern. There's a lot of things to be concerned about, but in order to make sure that we address the concerns, we got to pinpoint what is the most concernable thing that occurs, and they can actually, you know, work a way to actually become less and less so, less concerning matter. The reality is that most people are not aware of the Battle of Fallujah, Tamti continued, and so by talking about about this battle in the game, we are helping people remember the sacrifices of some very specific people. So that's number one. We share the same object. Hmm. Actually, let me try the voice. We share the same objective they have, which is we don't want their son's sacrifice to be forgotten. But I do, but do I? Hmm, I, but I do. Uh, but do I understand their caution about it? Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, I'll drink some water. All right. Because for most of these people, their only idea of a video game is watching someone else playing Call of Duty. Call of Duty is a sport, and if somebody made a sport out of the killing of my son, I'd be pretty upset. Our job now is to show people that we're not making Call of Duty. And what about the people of Fallujah? Once known as the city of mosques, Fallujah has been more than. Oh, okay, let me actually address this. Fallujah had more than 60 of its 200 historical structures destroyed in the fighting. Ten of thousands of people fled the city, many never to return. Lives were lost, and communities were shattered forever. What does Tamte say to those outraged that their suffering is being put into this game? Okay, almost all the outrage I've heard are from people who were not in Fallujah, Tamti said. I think we live in a culture where we feel the responsibility to defend people, whether they want to be defended or not, on social media. And I'm sure that there are people who are in Fallujah who will be offended. But I will tell you that from my experience in conversations that I've had over 15 years on this project, nearly all want people to know what happened in Fallujah, whether you are an Iraqi civilian or you're a member of the coalition, either side. It's like they're saying that real life events really is the real kicker. And regardless of what they portray, people will get hurt and such. I mean, there's been games that were like that. One on the indie side where I keep on thinking of a indie game that I keep on thinking of a Telltale, but click point adventure style where it focuses on Iranian Revolution in the side of university students in Iran, locals. Feels weird that I have to point that out, but yeah, actual local Iranian university students, the people who were part of the revolution, not against it, because it did seem like a really bad, uh, really uh, bad, bad, yeah, U.S. Media. It refers to some um, bad incident that occurred, which was the storm of the U.S. Embassy, which is not part of it. There's a large thing about that, and it has to do with abolishing and the king that was pretty corrupted and actually hurt many of the local people, and replacing it into a more democratic form of government that is not plagued with corruption that was harming the majority of people. And it showcased the broadcast of why they've done that. So it's a historical game that is entertaining in order to actually portray its right. But it's also an indie game where the team that made it are pretty proud of displaying it because of how much success they have. And this goes to show that there is a media of people playing it. There's a there's an audience and even a media that falls under the game hatred, which is pretty much killing uh, as many bystanders or regardless of background, just to create mass chaos. Not mass chaos in the sense of destroying infrastructure and stuff, but just mayhem and killing people and killing things. But I don't know if they also have animals in the game or if they ever had it um, later on by updates and such. But it does showcase there's an audience for that. The game flied in, and that's pretty much it. There's also so many other games. I keep thinking of the infamous Yonder Raid Simulator, but it's not taboo. Years ago, it's not taboo either. And this is me addressing another controversy back then, fault, because I'm looking at hindsight, but I'm looking at it now where it is addressing that this is concerned, but that's a thing that exists now. There's a market for it. People play it. I'll certainly look into it because I do want to talk more about this and understand what the person wants to portray and how does it portray. And that's about it. People really didn't get concerned with MGS Ground Zeroes and it portraying a Guantanamo Bay and Abu Ghraib under the coalition, then certainly, this thing can fly. It certainly can be talked about with not many people not feel fear of talking about it. And, well, that's something you could say, fear, but not other things. Okay. For Attempt, the goal of 6 Days of Fallujah is to celebrate the heroism of those coalition forces who fought there The goal is to emphasize with them and also with the civilians trapped in the city. Anything else is a distraction. Distraction. I felt that the job was distracting, and I didn't want to feel like a hero. I just felt like I just wanted to survive and just keep as many people safe as possible. What heroes existed? The Medal of Honor recipient that went, which I forgot his name. No, he just wanted to make sure his comrades. It's ironic that he just feels so weird. His unit safe. Comrades, because I'm thinking of freaking Russian Civil War II. Because, but besides that, and also many of the people who just want to survive is just living out the day. I mean, hmm. Hero history is written by the victors. I don't believe that, but people who do believe it must also understand that the victors could be not even the winners who were around that time, but just the people who were able to be in the position to write up the story. Mm. Mm-hmm. Think about think there's some history that actually showcases that. Only thing that I fear is that fundamentally, when we cut through everything, people's objection here to 6 Days of Fallujah is more of an objection to the Iraq War. Tammet said, "We've made games about other wars, real stories from other wars, that has not forgotten the intention and have not gotten any sort of controversy. So fundamentally, people's objection is to the Iraq War. I don't think we should be a proxy for that particular battle. The game he describes, however, seems to have a very narrow appeal. Are you interested in the nuts and bolts of clearing a room filled with deadly insurgents? Then step on up and prepare to get your heart torn out, one way or another. Tempty and his team are eager to hold your hand and guide you through that experience. Oh, yeah. But if you're curious why you and your virtual comrades are there in the first place, you'll need to take that step on your own. Six Days of Fallujah is scheduled to be released in 2021 on Windows PC and unannounced consoles. Oh boy, I want to have to play it in the Soulja Boy console. Okay, and there's a lot more here. And let me actually read this. Updated March 8th, nearly a month after his interview with Polygon, in the wake of controversy over their publisher's comments, the 6 Days of Fallujah Twitter account issued a statement that appeared to walk back some of the statements made by the publisher Pierre Tamnet. In it, the 6 Days of Fallujah team now says that the events depicted in the game are inseparable from politics. Yep, of course. We understand that events recreated in 6 Days of Fallujah are inseparable from politics. Here's how the game gives voice to a variety of perspectives. The stories in 6 Days of Fallujah are told through gameplay and documentary footage featuring service members and civilians with diverse experiences and opinions about the Iraq War. Since far, 25 Iraq civilians and dozens of service members have shared the most difficult moment of their lives with us, and we can share them with you in their words. Alright, I'm gonna finish this next time. But anywho, I want to just tell this from my mind. So, them actually saying they done other war games, which I actually do want to cover some other time to see what is their background in making other war games and such. But them pretty much saying that a lot of people have an issue with the Iraq War. Yes. And the thing which they didn't address in 2009, but I have a feeling that they're sort of addressing a bit, even though it sounds like they have learned that now they know how big and controversial it is. It does point out that some people do have that controversy to begin with. Is the Iraq War is a messy, messy war. which I'll talk about next time. Other than that, aloha.